Not sure if many of you know, but we do have a virtual tier within the Design Coven, virtual pro member tier, which includes 3 virtual meetings a month where we set intentions. We do group coaching. So bring all your questions. We answer those questions and you get to learn from other people going through the same struggles as you. We also do a business practice meeting. So we'll have somebody on to share a business practice that we can all benefit from. And then we also do a product training. So getting a sustainable, eco-friendly line to come on, share who they are so that we can be supported with other like-minded businesses. And if you're not quite ready for pro, you can always join our free community where you will connect with other like-minded holistic interior designers. You don't have to be an interior designer if you are kind of just dabbling or you're aspiring or you're looking into this field. We invite everybody from all journeys, and you don't, again, have to be a designer. You don't have to have a degree. We're just a beautiful community of like-minded people looking to create healing spaces, not just for ourselves, but for our clients and future clients. Come join us at designcoven.com/join. On today's episode, we have Chantelle Andercastle coming on. She is a business strategist, a web designer, helping you get as clear as quartz crystal and bringing you the aligned clients you've been dreaming of. She helps you develop the real know, like, trust factor that really matters in business, the one where you know, like, and trust yourself. Figure out what your business means to you and to your ideal clients. Communicate that deeper meaning through your message and your website. And Chantelle has helped me through my business. I'm so excited to share her with all of you here. And we are also collaborating on the Design Coven, my interior design mentorship program for aspiring and interior designers and those that are in the beginning parts of their business, where we learn from real life interior designers and industry professionals. I hope you enjoy this episode. Chantelle and I kind of get into her services, what she's all about, and how we are collaborating on the Design Coven. You're listening to the Holistic Interior Design Business Podcast. This is a podcast that guides you as a new or inspiring independent interior designer navigating your entrepreneurial path. Here, with my over 20 years experience, I will share my holistic approach to design with intention and ancient practices, including feng shui, all incorporating mind, body, and spirit into my design projects. You will also learn from seasoned interior designers as they give strategies and insight of how they built their businesses and continue to work in the field. Together, we will discover supportive trade partners, new ideas, creatives, and inspiring artists from around the world. I am your host, Rachel Larraine Crawford. Welcome, welcome. We have Chantelle of Clear Quartz Creative with us today, which I'm super, super excited about because we are collaborating through the Design Coven and other things. So this is going to be a really special episode. And before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and set our space by ringing our bell. Just really connecting into the present moment, connecting with our breath, our body. So I've got a beautiful Mithras Beeswax candle that I love using in ritual. I'm just creating our space here, connecting us with that beautiful fire element in creation. And I'm going to pull a card. So Clear Quartz Creative is the name of Chantelle's business. And of course, I have to use crystal cards. So I've got the Radiant Crystal Card deck from Bouchette Design. And let's see what we got. So Chantelle, I have to tell you that I was working on, the Design Coven stuff. And I was like, just doing all of the graphic stuff, and I was like, and I was thinking about reaching out to you to rebrand it. And I was like, what do I need right now? And I pulled the Clear Quartz card.
That's
of course
magical.
I did. Yeah. So then right away I was like, okay, I'm just going to email her right now. And we need to get this done. Let's see what we need today. Rose quartz. Ooh, we got rose quartz.
Lovely.
Unconditional love, forgiveness, and compassion. Of course, it's the heart chakra, vibration number 7. And this is connected to Libra and Taurus. And of course, I'm a Libra. And I just love, I mean, that to me also just speaks to Venus. And Venus is just a beautiful planet that I'm in love with. Affirmation, I'm filled with compassion for myself and others. And the energies here are unconditional love of others and oneself. It carries a high vibration that is warm and soothing. It's used to balance all the chakras. It leads us to compassion and positive self-esteem. And the flower that she has corresponding to this beautiful crystal is jewel weed, which is love, compassion, and attraction. Just love it.
So great.
So good. So yeah, what are you nourishing yourself with this morning?
This morning I have both hot and cold. I've got ice water. It's very warm here today, which is amazing. And also some decaf coffee, hazelnut, I believe, with a little bit of cream.
Nice. I have coffee as well. And I started this mushroom powder. It's called Morning Routine. And it's from Fun Earth Co. And it improves energy, focus, and mood, which I definitely can use every morning. So that's what I've got mixed into my half regular coffee and half decaf, kind of a mixture. So yeah, so this I'm hoping is going to just keep me like moving and focused for sure. So I'd love to start with what's home for you at the moment. What does that mean to you? Or it could be physical, it could be the idea of it, or both.
Home for me has always been something that is very fluid in process. I can make home anywhere really quickly. I'm that person that starts calling an Airbnb home after 2 days.
Amazing.
And I've moved a lot. I have always had the delusion that space will fix anything or place will fix anything, that I can move and find whatever it is I'm looking for beyond the next new key. But home for me right now is in progress because I live with my partner and his 3 children, and we are in the middle of renovating and kind of flipping the whole house, and also looking for a new home for all of us that fits all of our needs, because we just don't quite have enough space for us and 3 teenagers and a dog and both working from home.
Oh my gosh.
And so true to form, home is in progress for me right now. It's in flux. It's adding new coats of paint every day and vacuuming up sawdust and also browsing real estate listings. So, but I like home to feel like the sum of its parts, where the people are the parts, and just coming into a space that feels good for everyone.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. I love it. It's always so interesting to hear how everyone, there's always these transitions, or even with clients, it's always through transition. I feel like that they're always connecting with me, with remodels, and our homes are just so reflections of what's going on, the transition between like a divorce or just moving to a new space in general. And it's like, we're evolving with our homes, and the homes are transitioning and changing as we're growing. And so it's very, very cool. Love it.
And I feel like I am transitioning into a bit of a new style too, because I seem to be pulling that in through all sorts of ways, like clients who are designers, and just like books about joy that are really about design. And so I feel like my style is changing, where it was a little more minimalist. And I've always had this love of a very vintage couch paired beside something very modern. So that juxtaposition has been my thing. That's not new, but I think I'm becoming a little bit more of a maximalist, like where I just want layers upon layers. I want so much fabric and pattern and texture and just having more.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I'm reaching towards abundance
Yeah.
there or what, but I'm reaching for things that are feeling like, like 8 things in one view
Oh
instead
my
of
gosh.
1 or 2 things as the focal point. It's been an interesting
So
transition.
cool. That's so cool. I love it. So we connected through a mutual friend, which I'm so excited about because as soon as we met and like talking with you, I felt so connected and felt like we were so in this alignment of energies and just the creative process and all of that. So I wanted to share a little bit about, what your origin story is with your business and talk about our collaboration with the Design Coven. But I want everyone to know you. I want everyone to, get to know like how you started, like what happened, how did all this come to be, and how did you really find your niche and your path? And, it's always so fascinating.
Yeah, I'd love to share. I started with a yoga business, and that, of course, is very much about alignment. And it turned out that yoga, as more than a hobby or a practice for myself, was not aligned for me. And in learning to grow that business, I had started by doing my own branding, and I'd made my own website, and I was getting a lot of external validation for that. Like, I had a lot of people recognize that and start asking questions. And eventually I was at a workshop and someone asked me for my card, and I handed over my yoga card, and they're like, "No, your web design card." Like, I don't really do that. But I left, and like an hour later I thought, okay, that's enough. Like, there were 2 clients in there, and I
Yeah.
did love I've always I've always felt creative, but I'm not creative like pen and paper creative. I can't I can't draw or I can't paint, but I've always loved putting things together.
Yeah.
And so web design and branding turned into that creative, or it always was that creative expression for me, in a medium where I actually could express myself. And so eventually I said yes. And an hour later, I emailed those people back and said, okay, I know I don't have a card, but I'll build your website for $100
Oh my
because I'm
gosh.
new and I don't know what I'm doing. And I grew the business much like that. I'd take on, a couple of clients at that ridiculously low price point, and then I'd gather up enough confidence to add $200 to that ridiculously low price point. And I just grew over time. And one of the beautiful things about it is I've always attracted just the most beautiful clients
Mm,
that are doing so many amazing things in the world. And like, here you are, right? Where like you're no exception. Like, I attract people who are helping and healing other people, and there's this ripple effect
yeah.
of impact. Like, at this point I've built over 100 websites and
Oh my gosh.
brands, and each of those people is going and using those websites and brands to help, like in the capacity of designers, organizers, naturopathic doctors, lactation consultants. Like, it's this lovely little mix of almost all service-based people, but also people who are just very heartfelt,
Mm,
very much caring about impact and about service.
yeah.
So I think it was very fortuitous that I named the business Clear Quartz Creative, which I didn't fully. It would be a great story to say that I intended this from the
Yeah.
beginning, but that would be untrue. But I named it Clear Quartz Creative because I wanted something that would be able to have its own heart and soul outside of me, not just be named after me.
Right.
And I was just getting into crystals. Like, it was a new thing for me. I wasn't that into it, but it was like typical manifesting generator, like, oh, this is exciting. I'm gonna get excited about this right now. But it turned into a great brand story of like the clear quartz crystal is an amplifier stone. And what
Yeah,
it does is it makes everything else around it, all the other stones around it, more powerful. It increases their potential, literally.
absolutely.
And once I realized that I intuitively named the business that without like intending that connection, it all started to click into place.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so now I get to really live in that feeling of, yeah, that's what I'm doing here. I am having a positive impact through design, through the functionality of websites, through the intention and the strategy of business. And I get to do that all in service of my really cool clients like you.
So rad. And I see that you're also integrating human design into what you do. Can you share with us how you do that? Like, what does that look like?
I'd love to. Yeah. So I'll talk first about my own design and then
Okay.
how I use client design. But I'm a 1-3 profile, and that's the investigative martyr. So what it means is that I love to build a foundation. That's the one line.
Mm.
And I love to build a foundation again and again and again. Like I could have a new business every 3 weeks, but instead I do that through my clients' businesses. So I help them, each new client, build a new foundation for
Yeah.
themselves. So I do that through learning, through exploration. I do that through like a deep dive into them and their experience. And I love to listen and gather information by speaking with people and hearing the things that they're not hearing the things they are saying and hearing the things they're not saying, and reflect that back to them and turn that into a foundation that they're more aware of, because they often come to me not knowing that they have this foundation already. And so through our work together, we make that more explicit, and I help them become more aware of it. And as a manifesting generator, I'm a project-based kind of person. So
Mm.
I discovered early on that I loved the element of a branded website because I could work on something for a short amount of time
Right.
and then have it be complete, and then in essence get to move on to the next,
Got it.
uh, which was a challenge for me in a lot of other jobs and endeavors, because like there's nothing ever done about teaching yoga. Like, yeah, you might
Right.
finish a session or a series, but I didn't get that completion from it.
Got it.
Um, and so project based works great for me because if I work too long on something, I'm bored and the passion for it is gone and the results aren't as good.
Yeah.
Uh, and so over time, I've refined the process to it's exactly 4 weeks for a website, which is a little faster than an agency. But if I
Hmm.
stretch it out too long and I ask my attention to be there for too long, it's not good for anyone.
Got
Like
it.
I'll start to second guess and like the brand
Yeah.
will start to suffer. And so uh, I try to honor my design in my business choices.
Yeah.
And I also try to honor my clients' design. So when on my initial intake, the birth time is the first thing that's in
Yeah.
there, the details. And I'll run their human design chart before I read the rest of the questionnaire, before I look at their Pinterest board. And it's something that happens after I've met them for the first time.
Right.
We've already had a call by that point. So I meet the person first before the chart, but I use the chart to inform my process and the result of the design, the result of the business strategy in whatever capacity we're working on. I'll look at their chart. I'll see what jumps out at me, what I find, like sparks interest
Yeah.
for me, what I find maybe different that I haven't seen in other people's charts, or what I find unique, or like interplay between elements, like, oh, your environment and this together. Okay,
Mm.
that's interesting. And I educate a little bit on people's design through the process. So I'll share, like this channel could be reflected in this way in your business,
Yeah.
or I notice you're doing this. That's maybe a little bit of your profile coming out. But I use it to help me know what to do and what not to do. with
Got it.
clients. So, depending on what type of definition they have, I won't ask questions in a certain way, or
Right.
depending what their profile or what their strategy is, I might not ask for a quick turnaround on responses to a design proof. I might ask questions in a different way, or I might like allow more time for reflection, or I'll
Yeah.
ask yes or no questions instead of open-ended questions. Um, so I use it mostly in that communication
Yeah.
piece to ensure that I'm not conditioning my clients. That's the thing in human design, like where your design overpowers
Mhm.
someone else's that you're interacting with. And so in that way, I make sure that the design is not to me,
Right.
it's fully them.
That's so rad. I love it.
Mhm.
Can you share with us, like, what are the actual services or packages that you have to offer? Because I love that you are really clear on, what you do, and you have your boundaries, which I think is so important, especially with creating our businesses, because I do find that a lot of designers that are not only in the coven, but other people that, have come to me, it feels like, you know, they're so everywhere, or services are everywhere. And same thing with me, I could be everywhere as well. So I just feel like you really demonstrate what it's like to have something that's super clear, super precise. And like, these are the boundaries that you hold. And I think that's really something to be celebrated and to also share, so that we can understand how we can apply that into our businesses as well.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I go through periods where I feel that way, that they are clear, and then ones where I'm racked with indecision as well. So I will say that my services are the way they are now because of every little experience I've had up to this point in
Yeah.
business. And I was just talking about this on a client call yesterday, where at the very beginning, like if you're in your first couple of years, it's okay to not have a fully defined process and packages yet, because you're still gaining experience with every person you work with. You're essentially your goal in the first few years is reflecting after every client and
Mhm.
thinking, what did I really love about this and what worked well? And I'm going to implement that again the next time. And what didn't work well, that I'm going to let go
Right.
of and never do again. And the exact offerings that I have now are a culmination of those periods of reflection in between clients, or after, client completion. So it's okay to experiment and make changes to that over time. It's not going to be a static thing where, you keep the same exact services forever.
Yeah.
So with that disclaimer, I will say that I am very happy right now with the slate of offerings that I have. I'm excited about each offer for different reasons.
Mm.
In terms of brand and web design, I have two potentials. One is the full package, so that I do web design, including copywriting, from a totally blank template or blank slate. It's not even a template. And then I also have, on the other end of that, I have hour-long action calls. And those are often for people who have created their website already themselves, but for whatever reason, haven't felt ready to launch it, or they have launched it, but it isn't working. And so having both of these experiences for people to
Yeah.
meet them where they're at has been really good, because there's been times when I've only had the one and times when I've only had the other, and I've realized I do really need both. There's always going to be the person who wants the full experience,
Yeah.
wants to be hands off in a sense, but wants the complete package. And there's always going to be someone who needs just a little bit of help, and through those two services, I get to help both of them. And earlier in my business, I used to do a lot of branding on its own. So just the logo and the colors and the fonts and those things. And now I've evolved to where I only take on that kind of project if it's someone who's very aligned. And typically that only happens when I'm also building the full website and doing the copy
Got it.
at the same time. And then in terms of the other branch of my business, the strategy and education part, it took me a long time to reconcile how to fit both of those in
Yeah.
together and how to, like, what connects these two things. And I had advice from so many people to say, like, you got to let go of one or the other. Like, you've got to just like be a designer, or you've got to be a business strategist, but you can't be both. And but I have to be both because they're
Right.
so aligned and they're so connected to me. It was more just helping people see the connection.
Yeah.
Um, and so the strategy part is that 1-3 part of me, that foundational piece. And it's what I wish all of my web design and branding clients came in knowing already, so that I can make the best final product for them. And the link between the two, between the strategy and the design, is that my clients want things to be meaningful.
Yeah.
They want it to have meaning to them. They want it to have meaning for their clients. And to do that, we can't just put together colors that feel pretty.
Right.
It doesn't work that way. And so the strategic side of things, I do VIP weekends where I work with clients on everything from their vision, mission, values, to their brand voice, to their ideal client, to an aligned offer for them, to their client process, their marketing, social media, all of those things. And we work together on that for 3 days.
Yeah.
And it ends in a very fun, well, two very fun sessions: a Q&A session where they bring all their business questions that they've had that they just want answers to. And we go through those rapid fire.
Nice.
And then another session where they have, it's basically like a co-work where we do the things that have been keeping them blocked. So we log into the website, we write the thing, we change the bio, we do all of those things that they, have been things that have been keeping them stuck.
Yeah.
And so that's the VIP experience. And then I am in process of launching a product, which I haven't talked about
fancy. Okay.
very much. I don't think I've mentioned it to you.
No,
actually.
I'm super excited about this.
It's I've been a little secretive about it because as a manifesting generator, I've had a tendency to get an idea, act on it immediately, skip a bunch of steps, and just throw it out there. And this idea feels too special or too important for that rushed process.
Right.
And I need to lean on the other part of my design, which is that foundation bit, and really do this idea justice. And so I've been working on this for maybe 6 months or so. And I'm working on creating an actual physical product, something handheld that takes the place of the online course for entrepreneurs.
Beautiful.
And helps them make one part of their business intentional at a time.
So good.
And that's what's currently public about that product. Handheld.
Yes.
Like an online course, and about making things intentional, one little aspect of your business at a time.
Beautiful. I can't wait for you to launch this. When is it going to come out into the world? Or do you know?
It's in the focus group stage in August. So it'll go out to a small group, and we'll workshop on it. And then it'll be out in regular production probably October.
Wow.
October 1st is the goal.
Super rad. I love it.
I'll send you a copy.
Okay. Oh my gosh. I just love it when like things get created, just like, oh, it's like, because we were just like making these little babies of all these beautiful things. And that's so exciting. So I want to talk a little bit about, well, first I want to talk about, what you do is really magical, because we had our session talking about my vision, mission, values, and all that. So like I do a lot of stuff on my own because I just want to get it out there. But then I realized, I need help, right? I can't do like all the things on my own. And I brought to you what I thought my first draft. I'm like, okay, this is what my vision is. This is my mission. These are my values. And then you came in and you were able to just have me talk about like what each thing meant. And then you were able to take my words and add your spin to it and really articulate exactly what I was trying to get out there, but I wasn't able to communicate. And I just think that's such a gift. Like, that's huge. So like when I'm looking at my values now and I'm like looking at the mission, like, oh my God, this is so cool. You just get so pumped up by it. And that's what I want to share with everybody here, but also like in the Design Coven. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you in, is to help us with these focus, with these alignments with us, so that we can be excited when we're ready to launch, our own business and design or whatever it is, or even just in our own lives. So I just wanted to share that with you because I think that is just, your superpower, of course. And I think you probably already know that,
Thanks.
but I wanted to
If I
share
could
it.
put one correction though,
Oh, yeah.
it's more like, I love when people say that, you added your own spin on it. But it's really more adding your own spin on it that you just didn't know was there.
Yeah.
Because there are hints and there are clues in what people say and what they'll allow themselves to put down on paper. There's a disconnect there for most people. And so when I was listening to you talk about your values, what I was hearing was so much more than what you allowed yourself to type. And so it's always difficult to explain the process, but
Yeah.
It's best explained perhaps in the words of a long ago ex-boyfriend who told me that I make people feel more themselves, and that's why they want to be in my energy. My energy is about making people feel more like themselves, and that's what the magic is really put into words, is everything that you were sharing about those values and about that mission, just helping you translate those words into what you wanted, what you felt good about putting on the page, what you wanted to bring awareness to.
Yeah. And I feel like you have a way of letting people be seen. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, I really felt like you saw me, right? Like you were able to get in there and express the things that, like what I was feeling. And it was hard for me to get it down on paper. And I think also, when we're writing things down, like I'm editing, I'm judging, every little word that I'm putting down.
Totally. And you're writing what you think values are supposed to be.
Right.
Not what you really think they are. But we're all doing that. We're all editing ourselves constantly. And the more we learn to just remove that and go with our first draft idea and feel that confidence of putting that down on paper and letting that be the thing, letting our thing be the thing, the better everything is going to feel, the more aligned everything is going to feel. So I like to be a little bit of a bridge like that for people.
It's fantastic. So we're having you come in the Design Coven to do these workshops. So we've got 5. So basically, can you go over a little bit about what each one of those workshops are, just so that they can know like what's coming, to get excited about. And I know that you can express it so much more clearly than I can. I just get super excited. And I'm just like, you guys are just going to love it. Like, it's going to be fantastic. And they're like, okay, well, what are the details here, Rachel? Because you're just like all over the place.
Well, it's good to have the overview and the details. I think both are needed.
Yeah.
We have such a fun collaboration coming up. I'm very, very excited to get to connect with members of the Design Coven. I know that for you as a 4/6, relationships are so important. And so allowing me to come into that relationship feels really special. And I'm really grateful to you for creating that space. I also think it's the magic of the Design Coven that you've put together, is this beautiful focus on relationships, like people's relationships to themselves as business owners, and then the connections that they're going to make in the design world. So I love what you've put together, and I love getting to be a part of it. You had asked me about like the businessy side of things and the branding and like web design side of things. And so what we did is we put together 5 main topics that we thought, every person in the design coven could benefit from. And we decided to do these as live workshops, 1 a month, and just rotate our topics. So the first one is the mission, vision, values, which I know to everyone who's not in my brain, I know it doesn't sound exciting, but I promise I will make it exciting. You're going to feel so good when you have something that you actually emotionally connect to there. The reason you don't think it's exciting and the reason why you don't feel like you need it is because every vision, mission, values that you've read before has been someone's edited version. That is basically like a corporatized version of things. And you haven't felt that emotional connection to it. But what we work on in that first workshop is the feeling part of it. And when you feel connected to your mission, vision, and values, everything in your outside world shifts because your decisions shift. Absolutely. All of a sudden, you're making decisions from a completely different place. And it's the place that, beautifully, you really want to be.
Yeah.
So that's the first one. And then the second one is all about ideal client. And ideal client, again, is one of those topics that beginners and people who are even experienced in business alike, they both think that topic's overrated. I know who I want to work with. I got this.
Yeah.
But again, going deeper is a huge benefit here. In this workshop, we get to know your ideal client on a whole new level, and we learn details about them that will allow you to make better connections. And that's why. That's the why piece of the ideal client is, when we know that in addition to your design services, they are also going to, conferences on how they can help stop climate change. And we know that they're also shopping, sustainable fashion brands. We can connect with them on a whole other level. And again, that guides our decision-making of, if we ever partner with somebody, with a textile designer, say, you will partner with someone has a huge focus on sustainability because that's important to your client rather than just, any other random designer. Knowing the specifics of ideal client helps remove those pieces of random and helps guide your decisions towards just that more focused, more specific way that actually benefits the person you're really wanting to attract and bring in. The next one there is intentional business. And that's all about bringing in all the elements that you and I find really fun. So the rituals and the practices, the reflective practices, bringing in elements from astrology, bringing in, human design, Enneagram, all of those personality kind of things, like the Myers-Briggs and I like the 4 tendencies from Gretchen Rubin, and all of those, even the entrepreneurial archetype, bringing in what you learn from those tools, those systems, and integrating that into your business. So how you can really work with your strengths and weaknesses to really play up those strengths and support those weaknesses, and all about bringing in those practices that just make it feel better for you. I know that a lot of people that you attract, I'm sure, are that holistic type.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Bring in your crystals, bring in your cards, bring in the aromatherapy, bring in the feng shui, bring in all of those practices that are important to you and bring them into your business. Allow them to have a place there. Next, we talk about brand superpowers in our workshop series. And this one is all about acknowledging what makes you different from every other blank insert title here. And this is such a powerful one because it's very tempting to think to yourself, oh, I'm an interior designer. I'm like every other interior designer out there. But that's not totally true. You are your own version of that title, and you bring to it such a varied set of experiences and awareness and magic. And until you know what that is, it is going to be so difficult to convince anyone to work with you or
Yeah.
attract the right people to work with you. And so surfacing those superpowers is all about developing confidence. And, in some circles, you might call this like niching a little
Yeah.
bit, but we're niching to the things that make you you. And we're giving permission to incorporate those elements
Yeah.
into your business. Yeah. And then lastly, the last one is brand voice and messaging, because so much of what we do in business is communication.
Absolutely.
And that's where things either go right or go wrong. And
Yeah.
the words that we use, what we say, matters more than we think. And we're doing that all day long. We're doing that when we're speaking on our podcasts. We're doing
Yeah.
that when we're typing an Instagram caption. We do that when we're talking on a client call. It's all communication. And where things go a little off kilter
Right.
is if we don't have a defined brand voice and we don't know what our message is, and we sound different in every place. We contradict
Right.
ourselves. We don't provide that like cohesive experience,
Mhm.
and then we confuse our audience, and they're not sure anymore, what we're offering or what we do or how we help.
Right.
And so what we say, how we say it, that can have a really big impact on just the success of the overall business and just how everyone feels. And so brand voice and messaging is a little bit about knowing what words, what tone that you're going to use when you write, when you speak. And also just to ensure that you're communicating what is really important,
Mhm.
that you get to the essence of what's important in what you're doing when you're connecting with potential clients or existing clients.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. This
And
is
those are
going
our
to be
5
so fun.
workshops.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. And also, I wanted to mention that the fire tier, which is the one-on-one mentorship tier, not only do you get an hour with me, but you have an opportunity to have Chantelle for an hour at exclusive Design Coven pricing, which I think it's going to be so rad, just being able to have you there and available for them to get more of this insight on directing them in their business. And can you share a little bit of maybe like, I know you've had a session of like, or even just sharing with us, like, what is it that you're finding that people are wanting or how your services are being supported, or you just give us a little bit insight on what those are like.
Yeah. So for fire members, we decided that they would get one like in their first month. Oh, wait. We were keeping that a secret.
Oh no, we can share that. Yeah, they're getting an hour to
Okay. Yeah.
to
They're
try
getting
it
an
out.
hour. There.
That's I forgot to say. Yes, we are there. That is a bonus. We are giving them an hour to totally connect with Chantelle, and then the opportunity beyond that to hire you for.
I thought I spilled the secret right here
No, no,
live
no, no.
on your podcast. Yes, we're
No.
doing a free session for everyone in their first month of fire. And
Yes.
that's a little bit of a get to know you and a little bit of a reflection of where you're currently at in business and which areas you might want to explore more strategically. And everything that I've talked about today, like my whole skill set is available to you in that hour, or any time that we spend together. So I don't segment things. Like if sometimes we wind up talking about the blurb on your about page, and
Yeah.
sometimes we wind up talking about the colors in your logo, and sometimes we wind up talking about the specifics of what your ideal client needs to read from you on Twitter or whatever, whatever social you're doing. And it's about responding to your needs in the moment, with some strategy, with some awareness, always with the current of making things more intentional,
Mhm.
doing things on purpose, showcasing really what is meaningful to you, what's meaningful to your clients, and making that happen in some of the tech pieces, some of the communication pieces, some of the like all of those elements that work together, right? A business is
Yeah.
so many items on a to-do list put together. And I help you tackle any of those with intention. I help you get deeper on them. But we can also respond to what's happening in the moment for you.
Yeah.
So what's keeping you stuck? If every day you log into Instagram and you're feeling like the bio doesn't really reflect who you are anymore, or the title on your business card doesn't feel like you anymore, then that's where we begin.
So cool. I just think it's so rad. You just bring like this element that I like I can be so excited about things and I can help. And I, in the mentorship, I'm helping with design, the design business, or like how to connect with, creating these relationships, and just my experience that I have in the design world. And then to be able to bring you in from this business aspect that I don't, I know a little bit, but I'm not like an expert. It's not what I do. So it's just really cool to be able to have you come in as a partner and help guide a lot of that. So I'm just super excited about it.
Yeah. Earlier you talked about how you showed me your first draft.
Oh yeah.
And we went from there. And I got to say, like, I love first draft energy. I love starting wherever you're at with anything and just helping you take that next step.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And for me, it's like getting that clarity and just getting me on the right track. And then it's like, okay, then I can start running again, because I'll just like,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we get stuck, right? We get stuck because we need either some kind of skill or we need some kind of self-awareness to keep going on things. Like we get to a point with ideas where, we can take them this far. And then there's like this little like not barrier exactly, but there's like this little plateau, say, with an idea where we reach that point and we just need something to get past that. And sometimes that's just being introduced to the right person, or signing up for the right new tool, or reading the next book. Like you need some kind of resource to get you past that little place where you're stuck and on to the next thing. And it's great to be able to do that together and not have to tackle all of that on your own, because that plateau is going to last a little longer if you're sitting there by yourself.
Yeah. And we just like feel like we're just spinning wheels, and it's like, okay. The inspiration just goes boom.
Yeah. And we want to honor your ideas. That's a concept I've been thinking a lot about lately. Is so many of us, like, well, less you, because you're so great at having an idea and putting it out into the world. But a lot of people, that idea just stays in the idea stage forever, or it lives in the notebook, or it lives in the notes app, and it doesn't feel like a possibility because the steps to get it into reality just aren't illuminated for us. And our ideas want to be honored, I think.
Absolutely.
And so even if that means placing them somewhere safe for right now and saying like, I will get to you later. Or it means running full steam ahead on something, like finding a way to honor ideas, and as much as we can bring them into the world when it's the right time, is I think maybe a beautiful definition of entrepreneurship and just being a business owner, is having that agency over our own ideas. With some support.
Of course. It's like, it's always a support in the relationship. Like I said, that's a big thing for me, but
I love hearing you talk about relationships. You light up when you talk about connecting people with other people. It was like the first thing I noticed on our first call when we met.
Yeah, it's really neat. I just get electrified by it, right? It's like all these little things just start buzzing around me, and it's like, yes, this is so good. How can everyone find you? Like, even if they're not in the design coven, like I want people to connect with you and to learn from you. And you've got a can we share about your podcasts? And then also about like how we can connect with you?
Thank you. Yeah. I also have a show, the Aligned Action Podcast. And that is very much about everything we talked about today, all of those different topics. The common thread there is alignment. and taking aligned action. So a lot of people listen to learn more about, making decisions that are in line with what they actually want, where they want to go, where they're headed. And I talk also significantly about like growing your business skills on there, because a lot of people, especially people probably listening to this show, like you are very intentional in the work that you do with design. You're a very intentional designer, and you want to be as intentional in your business as you are in your niche. But for whatever reason, like that doesn't come as naturally to you, right? A
Yeah.
lot of us are like, whatever a title is first and then business
Yeah.
owner second. That's, I think, almost like most of us really. And so that desire to be intentional is what I address there on the podcast. I also share these monthly alignment reports that are very honest looks at what was aligned for me and my business in the previous month and what wasn't aligned. And then I also talk about my most meaningful actions, because often people will say, like, oh, like do your money making tasks first. And people are like, what are those? And I think there's this element of secrecy, right, in the business world, where we don't totally know what everyone else is doing behind their own laptops for 8 hours a day. And I like to just put it out there and give people at least one example, even if that example is mine, over what I'm spending my time doing and what I think is important right now, along with where I made mistakes and what wasn't aligned, what I said no to, what I wish I'd said no to. I get into all of that. So that's my take on the monthly income report, which is a lot of braggy numbers and not a lot of substance in a lot of shows. And so my take instead is like not necessarily the numbers, but the feeling behind it. Yeah.
I think that's huge.
Yeah, it's been really fun to put together. I love to talk, and so the podcast is a fun way to do that, to be able to talk directly to entrepreneurs and small business owners.
Yeah, and I think it's great.
Yeah.
I listen to those, and it's just nice to hear from someone else's perspective. And it also gives me a moment to reflect. Like, oh, wait a minute, what happened this month for me? Like, what wasn't an alignment, or okay, that, it's just one of those, it's just like checking stock, right? Of like, okay, what was good? What felt great? What's not so good? Okay, I know to move forward, intentionally and mindful, versus just keep going through the rhythm of things and then get stuck in these same patterns, or get stuck in the same, oh shit, I'm in that relationship again, or
right.
I recreated that same scenario that I didn't learn 2 months ago.
Yes, that's perfect. I do intend for the pause point to be not just for me monthly, but for listeners as well. If I could prescribe anything, it would be that pause. Reflection is so key, because there's so much information in our experiences, and if we are going too fast, like you said, if we're not paying attention, then we miss all of that richness that's there. And it's just so important to honor our own experiences as well. So reflecting on those is it's gonna feel really good.
Yeah, and I
don't have a more eloquent way of saying it. It's just gonna feel really great.
And I was just thinking, that just reminded me of the moon phases, and having that dark moon moment, and being maybe, I'm all about rituals. So it's oh, that'd be such a good ritual at the dark moon for the business, to just take that moment on that day to reflect and, do exactly what you were just talking about. What was in alignment, what's not in alignment, and sitting with it for a moment, because that's just the perfect time. Or when the moon is in void, of course, which means it's not in a sign, right? So it's just it's kind of just in this void,
in between,
this in between space.
Yeah, maximizing the in between, absolutely. And yeah, it can be connected to any other ritual that you do, as well.
Absolutely,
which is the beautiful part of that.
what rituals are you practicing right now that you are enjoying, or like what's keeping you grounded or centered, or, besides your
Hmm,
alignment reports? I know that's kind of ritualistic as well, but are there any other
for
things that you're
sure.
doing?
Yeah. Well, in this season, like where I live, it's nice and warm here, and it's essentially a reward for 9 months of very cold, bitter conditions. So I am spending as much time outside as I
Mm,
can. I'm direct light determination in human design, and so I literally recharge by sunlight.
wow.
And I'm a more complicated house plant, essentially, just like coffee and water and sunlight is all I need. So anything outside, like I spend hours a day just sitting in the sun, walking, um, being connected to the outdoors, like reading under the trees. We're recording now. I'm in my outdoor office in the gazebo,
Yeah.
getting just as much of this warmth, soaking it all up as I can. And in terms of other practices, like there's been many points at which I've been a daily meditator. Right now, I am not in that season, although I'd
Yeah.
like to be. It's one of my goals this year, but I'm in a little bit of I'm just out of flow with
Yeah.
meditation at the moment. And so meditation for me right now is more of a integrated practice for me, where I take, a few conscious breaths at many parts during the day instead of sitting down for a formal practice. Although I really value my formal practice, it's just not working right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
But I'm confident I'll flow back to that, as I always do. I love rituals. Rituals are very flowy for me too. Like there's times at which I'm drinking crystal water every morning, and then there's times at which I'm meditating and doing a gratitude practice every night, or there's times when I'm journaling every day, and they work for me for a time, and then right when I need them, they're there,
Yeah.
and then I move on to the next one.
That's
And
gorgeous.
I've I I've learned to have to allow that.
Yeah.
As much as my preference would be to be the kind of person that does, everything every day, or like that control element.
Yeah.
It's tempting to feel that way, but I've learned that I operate much more on the as needed rituals
I love
basis.
that. I think that too is really important for people to know that it's okay to shift and flow and not do something.
Mhm.
I think people might have this perception, or maybe it's just me, that ritual, or that these things like you're talking about meditation, you have to do it, regimented every time, and this, and this is what it looks like. And it's like we
Yeah.
want to scratch that, right? We want to make sure that everyone knows that it's completely different for everyone and how they navigate it. And it can change on a daily basis. It's not something that you have to
Yes.
be so hard on yourself with.
Yeah. When I set out for the yearly goal of daily meditation, I acknowledged right from the beginning that it was going to count if I did one conscious breath in a day. That would count. I wasn't committing to 20 minutes of seated,
Yeah.
like meta practice, for example. I had to leave it more open-ended. I love streaks as much as the next person, but being too rigid is I think the best way to set ourselves up for failure
Yeah.
when it comes to those rituals. So I agree with what you said completely.
Yeah. Awesome. And then
Yeah.
before I interrupted you, you were going to go on about how we can connect with you besides your podcast. So,
Yeah.
so we can go back
No, this is
there.
a good question. I'm very glad that you asked it. Yeah, I'm in one of the like a quiet period right now.
Okay.
I'm working on my idea, the bringing that product to life,
Hmm.
and so the podcast is something that happens regularly. My email list is another thing. You can get on that by clicking the quiz button at the top of my website. It's a black bar.
Okay.
And the quiz is all about what pattern is holding you back in business right now. And when you click that and you take that quick little quiz, it gives you a result that leads to an episode of the show.
Oh, very cool.
And yeah, it's
Awesome.
it was one of my inspired lead magnet ideas.
Oh, I love it.
I grew frustrated with quizzes that were leading to these, you know, signing up to some email list where you're hearing from someone 3 times a day
Yeah.
for 3 years or whatever. And I thought, what would be the most helpful, like, when
Yeah.
you got a quiz result? And I thought, okay, a podcast episode that led you through the practices to remedy that would be the most helpful. And so that's what I built. So
That's so cool.
when you know your pattern, it leads you to a specific episode. You click on the link, you get to listen to it right away. And if you choose, if you like, you can stick around. I email only once a week, and my newsletter practices are. I think you do that too.
Yeah.
You do the one a week.
Yeah. What a week.
Newsletter.
What's a week?
Yeah, we
Like
have that
on
in
Thursday.
common.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Oh, mine's on Thursday too. Oh, look at that.
Like
Such fun alignment.
So funny.
I like to send mine at 1:11
I
in
love
my
that.
in my time zone. Yeah, it feels nice and magical.
Super cool.
And I'm also on Instagram at Clear Quartz Creative, though I've been very quiet there. It looks as though I've abandoned it completely, but I haven't. I do check in. I do still DM, and I'm happy to chat with anyone. So if you DM me, tell me that you heard me here on Bewitching the Home. Introduce yourself, say hi,
Yeah.
and maybe tell me the part of your business where you'd like to feel more intentional, and we can chat that out.
That'd be amazing. You're so rad. I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on and allowing me to share you with all my listeners and the Design Coven. And I just know that this year, all the things that we're creating is just going to be so cool. And I can't wait to see the transformations of the people that are going to be in the courses and just watching them evolve. I mean, I've already seen like so many things happen in just this first month, and we're not even done with the month with just the group and the people and the excitement and even just working with you. And I can't wait for our branding session and all of that stuff to happen. And I'll be sharing it, of course, with everybody because it's so cool.
Absolutely. I'm
Yeah.
so grateful. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for
course.
bringing me in with the Design Coven. It's a community that I'm really proud to be a part of.
You've been listening to the Holistic Interior Design Business podcast. If it's one that you have been enjoying, please share with anyone else that you think can benefit from this knowledge, and leave us a 5-star review that helps us get seen and found by other new and aspiring interior designers. And if you're looking for mentorship, I invite you to join our club here at the Design Coven. It's a bridge between school and real life interior design. We get in much deeper there. We have virtual and in-person events, so everyone is welcome. You don't need to have a design degree to be part of it, just an interest in holistic interior design. I also want to thank our editor, Marcy Ferry, and lastly, Kinseth Thibodeau, who is our music composer. Until next time, be well, and we will see each other soon.